Thank you, everyone. I know it's been a long day, but I promise to make this exciting. I really liked the last session. Arif, Indranil, Anand, Samir, thank you for that. I really liked what Arif said, that we get paid, or technology firms get paid when customers sleep well at night. Which is an important piece to anchor all tech firms on. And while I lead the financial services investing practice at Kedaara, I also have the privilege of partnering with Govi and Perfios over the last few years. And like Samir said, I think it's a rare opportunity to hear Govi and hear what he's built, not just for the financial ecosystem, but what is probably today one of the largest fintechs in the country. So, Govi, hopefully I get to ask you questions that is relevant for the audience out here. And maybe let's start with the unglamorous beginnings. Unlike young tech founders, you started this journey quite late in your career, but it's gone on to become one of the largest fintech platforms of the country. Most founders start off with, one customer and one pitch deck. And a lot of them get to the revised pitch deck very soon. When you started this journey, were you clear that you were building, what is the financial plumbing rails for the Indian lending and banking ecosystem? Or did you think, let's start with something and let's not mess it up?
Okay. Thanks, Rahul. See, I'll be lying if I say that this is what I thought about 15 years back when I started Perfios. So like any entrepreneur, obviously started with something and then struggled for 2-3 years, then did a pivot. But one thing that was clear from day one, in fact, that is one line I keep using to describe Perfios. So what is Perfios? Perfios is a technology-driven, category-creating product company in chosen domains and chosen geography. So what we wanted to do was something that is new, something that will make a difference in financial services, or today we are also in the getting into the healthcare and stuff like that. Essentially something that is new. It should not be run-of-the-mill. It should not be incremental innovation. It should be innovation-led, category-creating product company in chosen domains. And the other objective was, it has to be global. It cannot be in a very niche, small geography. It has to be a global play. So with that, we started. And the first domain or problem we tried to solve was personal finance. In fact, that's the name of the company, Personal Finance One Stop, Perfios. We started with a PFM solution. I mean, honestly, I still feel there is no solution like that even today, globally. But unfortunately, monetization was very difficult, like as was discussed in the last session also. So after a couple of years, we kind of pivoted, moved to lending, and fortunately, we have been reasonably successful there and moved to other domains. So to answer your question, yes, it was not with one pitch deck and one customer, but it was with a much bigger objective, saying, can we make a difference through innovation in the space that we are going to play?
And as a follow-up question, Govi, given Perfios has now become what I would call an embedded infrastructure without which large institution, banks, lending companies can't operate beyond, what are the sort of responsibilities as a leader of that pack that you see today?
Okay. See, it's very clear that, well, it's nice to say that large institutions depend on us. That also, to a large extent, as was echoed in the last panel, does not give me good sleep many times in the early days. So which meant, it's not just the functionality that people are worried about. People are worried about what are the kind of infrastructure that you are putting together that is always available, that is scalable, that can perform in real time, because most of the work that we do is in real time. We have to do STP journeys. We have to give answers. We cannot say, oh, okay, punt it to the weekend and I will do it as a batch job, right? And then on top of it, we deal with the most, I would say, sensitive data. So how do we ensure that the InfoSec, the security, the privacy, all of that happens? And then added to that, I would say, in addition to the standard non-functional requirements that people talk of, I want to add almost fraud as one more piece. It should not even be visible to somebody using our platform. I should be in a position to go and detect the fraud and then ensure that fraudulent transactions are flagged or removed or whatever it is, right? So all this unglamorous thing is something that we have to incorporate in our platform and not take as a requirement from a customer, because the customer expects all of this to be there in the platform. So those were things, unstated requirements that we had to implement as part of our platform when we start working with a customer. Because this is not something that a customer says. Customer says, I want to lend. I want to ensure that this personal loan or MSME loan happens in 30 seconds. That's all their requirement is. All the other stuff that goes into that platform is what we need to provide.
And a lot of what Perfios is built is, like you mentioned, invisible to the user or invisible to not just the customer, but also people within the banking ecosystem, right? And it just works somehow. And how do you motivate the team to ensure that, like Arif said, the customer is sleeping well at night and, nothing is going wrong, because in the world we are living in today, there are so many things to, worry about all the time.
Okay. Actually, that's a great question. In fact, that's a question every one of our employees asks or a prospective employee asks, right? So the answer has been simple for me. You walk into any financial institution in the country, we have made a difference to the way financial services is delivered. So one can truly take pride in the fact that this particular bank or this NBFC or this fintech, I'm able to contribute to the way that they are working today. And in the last 10 years, it has been changed for better. When we pivoted to this lending play, one of the goals that we had was, can I kind of, in our small way, help in the whole financial inclusion? So what did we do? We basically leveraged all the alternate data sources, made it all digital. As a result, the cost of making certain products was made very, very low. So some of the financial institutions, otherwise they would not have been able to enter, let's say, a low-cost item or a low-cost lending, whatever. So now we are able to change all of that and then able to kind of make those financial institutions get into spaces they would not have done otherwise. So essentially, in our own way, helping the entire financial inclusion. So to my employee, I say, you walk into any bank, and then you can proudly say that I've contributed my bit to make this financial services far better than it was about 10 years back. Not too many employees can say that across companies.
And that's a good segue into my next question. I'm picking up from your previous answer, the point around governance, fraud. Governance is a little bit like insurance, right? People realize the value of that when bad things happen. And for Perfios and for you, governance has always been at some level a design feature. How did you think about that? Did you think about it from the start? Did that thinking evolve and you were able to build that? Because that is clearly something that all our customers value a lot.
True. No, that's again a very important point. From day one of the company, there are some people in this audience who have been associated with me from day one. They can also attest to that. There are two key design centers. So functionality is something that one can always build. One can do retrospective building, right? But there are two key design centers we had. One was governance. The second was privacy. Because we are dealing with, at that time, personal finance data. So we said security and privacy is one key design center. So no new feature that we add can violate any of that. And second is governance. Fortunately, I had experience in my earlier venture, which I started, and we went public. So ran it as a public company for about 8 years. So there also, obviously as a public company, there were certain things that I am held responsible for, a fiduciary responsibility, all that. So governance was something that was ingrained in us from day one. So even when we were a two-people company, we said, these are things that we have to follow. We don't have a choice. So that is almost like a culture in the organization today. So we don't even look at it as, because this is something that you cannot retrospectively add. Just like you cannot retrospectively build security practices. Here, governance is also something that has to be there from day one. So it's almost part of our culture. And this is not just a compliance perspective, right? Because when I go and talk to a customer, the moment customer knows that this company is run very well, there is only one single source of truth. I can talk to anyone on the floor and I will still get the same truth. Same thing with an investor. You would have seen. You go and talk to my CFO or me or the person on the floor, you will get a single source of truth, right? And same thing for a prospective employee. When he knows that this company is run so very well with the governance, so all of this makes business sense also. It is not just a compliance thing. It makes a lot of business sense to run it like a well-governed company. So it is like part of our culture.
And even though we are not directly regulated, we are to some extent indirectly regulated or semi-regulated because, Perfios obviously goes through 100 plus audits, either it's banks or all the other lending partners or insurance companies. And that's been one of our strengths, to be honest.
So in fact, there may be other competitors also in the room. So one of the things I keep telling our customers, our prospective customers, is that the key differentiation is not functionality. As I keep saying, functionality is something that you can add. What are the other things that differentiate us is largely some of these non-functional requirement, right? And one of the things that Rahul touches upon is this whole InfoSec. So we handle the most sensitive data across all the financial institutions in India as well as about 18 countries, right? We go through roughly 150 InfoSec audits every year. And these are done by the big fours. It's a pain, to be frank. 2 to 3 days it takes. But what it gives us, as Arif mentioned in the earlier panel, I can sleep well. Because somebody from the external world is coming and certifying that this company follows all the best practices. All the data is handled well. Even before all this DPDP and all of that stuff, we were absolutely compliant with it. And as Rahul mentioned, while we are not a regulated company, all our customers are regulated entities. So it is important for us when we work with a regulated entity that we follow the best of the practices. We are more than compliant there, right? So that, again, as I said earlier, it's a key design center for us whenever we add a new feature. And it's almost like a responsibility for me to ensure that the data that I handle, I keep telling folks internally, while we have the best of the technology, practices, process, audits, all that, we are only one leak away from a disaster, right? And we cannot afford to have that. So we do everything possible to ensure that the data that we handle is protected and we have the best of the practices.
Fair, Gopi. And as key decision makers at banks, NBFCs, insurance companies, think of, partnering with the fintech world. In your mind, what is it that they should keep in mind while making that decision? And obviously, cost is not the right answer, but outside of that, in your mind, what should they be looking out for?
See, more than me saying that, our experience working with some of the largest players, both in India and other geographies, what they're looking for is a trusted partner. Cost is only a very, very small angle that keeps varying. But what they're looking for is someone that will be around. They know that they are dealing with a company that is doing software. Software is bound to sometimes fail, it may be slow, whatever. But what they are looking for is someone who is always available 24/7 when things are down, so that we can work closely with them and ensure that they are back up and running. That is the first thing. There is a customer centricity built into the culture of the organization. They are looking for an organization like that. Second thing is they are looking for more of, I would say, a startup mindset. By that I don't mean 2 people, 3 people company kind of a thing, but more like there is a problem to be solved. Don't show the agreement or SLAs and stuff like that. So can you work with me closely, whether it is co-creation or solving that problem or whatever, so that I'm up and running? So is there a startup mindset? Is this company agile? Moving forward with that. And then more importantly for all these larger institutions, will they be around? Because they are looking at it at least as a few years journey for them. It's not like a POC they are doing and they are throwing it away. They're investing in it and they want to make sure that this partner is around the next few years. So they are looking for longevity, the startup mindset, and the fact that I'm having this customer centricity built as part of the organization, so that if there is a problem, I'm able to immediately pitch in. So that is what they are looking for, more than anything else. And of course, some of those other things I talked about earlier are hygiene, whether you have the 5/9 availability, performance, security, all of that stuff. That is hygiene, given. Yeah.
Thanks, Govi. I think my next question would excite some of the founders who are building, companies. As you think of, fundraising, Govi, as you think of bringing in investors, this question you can be very candid on. what are the things that you should not depend on the investor for? Even the ones who are well-meaning and would contribute meaningfully in the positive direction. What is it that a founder should back himself for fully while building while building any business?
Sure. So being a person with coming from a technology background, I always felt one has to be completely hands-on in whatever we do. In our organization, we insist on that, whether it's a salesperson or a customer support person or a coder or whatever it is. And I apply the same logic to dealing with an investor. So investor can at best be a sounding board to me, but I have to do everything. I cannot outsource that to investor. In fact, I don't want to outsource anything to the investor. They can at best be a sounding board. I'll tell you the reason. Suppose investor opens a door to some of the largest bank in the world. Obviously, they have a relationship. They can open the door, right? But after that, I want to take that ownership. I want that customer to work with me on my terms and respecting me rather than respecting a Warburg or a Kedaara. Because the relationship has to be with me on a daily basis. So I want to drive that relationship. Whether it is with my customer or with a key employee they are bringing to the table or a consultant or a search firm, whatever it is, I want to be driving that relationship on my terms and they should respect me rather than doing it because an investor is telling me. So investor for me is more like a sounding board rather than I want to outsource. No.
Thank you for being honest.
And I may not be able to tell that in our board meeting, but...
Thank you for being honest about that, Govi. As you think of Perfios in the next 10 years, what should the industry expect of Perfios in the next decade, and what would, if we got to that point or achieved, would have fulfilled your, ambition or goal for the company?
So there are two parts to that answer to that question. So one is from an industry perspective. As I said, we want to make sure that this whole financial inclusion becomes a reality. Whether Perfios, obviously Perfios alone cannot do it. We can play a small part there. By that, what I mean is, today if you look at e-commerce, right, as an example. So a person sitting in a tier 4 or a small village have the same kind of access to any kind of an e-commerce product on any platform as a person sitting in Mumbai or a Bangalore. Today, financial services is not in that same way. There is a lot of friction. There is a lot of problems for somebody who is there in the bottom of the pyramid to get access to that. So what we want to do in our own way is like work with the ecosystem players, ensure that the financial services and the financial inclusion becomes a reality. Anyone sitting in any part of the country, or whatever may be the part of the pyramid they are in, they should have access to exactly the same set of products and services that both you and I have access to. So if we can make that happen, I think overall for the society itself, that's a phenomenal thing. And obviously Perfios as a small company cannot do it, but my hope is we can play a small part in making that happen. That is from an overall industry perspective. That will be a phenomenal thing if you can make that happen. As far as the company itself is concerned, as I said, that one-line description I talked about the company, that we will be a technology-driven, category-creating product company in multiple domains and multiple geographies, is what we want to continue so that using innovation, using category-creating product, we should be able to make difference to the society in whatever domain that we are playing in. That will be my goal.
And there's obviously a lot of enablement that will happen by way of AI usage. In your mind, what role would AI play in that journey? Obviously in the context of industry, but more importantly, what Perfios would deliver to the industry?
See, fortunately, as a company, from day one, we have been a data-driven company. I mean, we were a data company, right? So people today talk about AI and various other jargons associated with this. From day one, what were we doing? We were essentially having this data, anonymized data, aggregated data, building various models. Initially, we were called a data management company, big data and all of that stuff. Some of the older people will relate to that. Then we moved to instead of a rule-based engine, it was all ML-based, where we built all those models. So now we are saying, in addition to the LLMs from the open source, OpenAI kind of platform, we have our SLMs and the local enterprises that we are working with, and then adding that value to the customer. So as a company, we have always been data-driven. We were a data company. So for us, it doesn't really make any difference. Only thing is some of the tools make some of those jobs much easier for us. So it has kind of enabled our growth, and that is what we will be hoping for to leverage as we move forward.
Super. Thank you, Govi. Thank you for building Perfios and sharing your story with the audience. And I hope that Perfios does fulfill its the ambition and the goal that you've set out for the company. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, folks. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, sir. And that kind of love and appreciation from our side to you. Thank you so much for being an amazing speaker over here.
Thank you. Thank you. My team is more brand conscious than I am, right? I end up doing half the time this. Okay?
I'm going to turn this around for this photo. Thank you.
Thank you.